The Pulse of the Program series continues as we make our way to Happy Valley. Talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions. We put our two fingers on the wrist. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got it. The Penn State Nittany Lions are coming off a 2-year stretch in which they are 500. Now, for some teams, for some programs, they would give their left arm, a kicker, and a bag of Doritos to have that record in the last 2 years. Not the case in Penn State. Not the case at State College. They're saying, okay, we're getting anxious. We have the brand to where we feel like we should compete for the Big Ten every single year. We should compete with the Ohio States. We should compete with the Michigans, the Michigan States. And that hasn't really been the case. Not to say they haven't done it. They've done it under James Franklin, but they haven't done it in recent enough history for their liking. And so you know how we do this. We're going to take the pulse internally, the people in the locker room. We're going to expand on that pulse of the fan base that we sort of just gave you. I think it probably is more or less in lockstep. I don't think the fan base or the locker room would disagree with the pulse we just gave you, but we're going to go more in depth and then give you my diagnosis at the end of this. So the pulse of the locker room, of the program, if you will, is we're optimistic, but we're not going to open our mouth about it. Because James Franklin is, I don't want to say notorious, but he's well known for being an optimistic kind of coach. Comes out every single year and says, doesn't say this is the year, but he says everything but this is the year, if that makes sense. I mean, he brings on a lot of this hype. He's excited about it, and he believes it's warranted, which that's how I want my coach to approach every single season for the record. James Franklin is my kind of guy. Now, the difference in 2022 is James Franklin essentially said, okay, yeah, I'm optimistic. Surprise, surprise, I'm optimistic, but I'm not going to be rah-rah about it. I'm going to be optimistic. They'll go prove it on the field. I love that approach personally. I think you should fear the quiet man. And if James Franklin is that quiet man, I would be nervous around him, okay? So let's just make that clear. Sean Clifford, 6-year quarterback. He's coming back one more time. If he were in the NFL, he'd be collecting his pension. I love it. Nick Singleton is a guy they're really excited about. He's going to be a 5-star true freshman running back. There's a feeling around State College, hey, he may not be the guy game one, but eventually I think he's going to be the bell cow. He'll get the job long term. So a lot of excitement, and there needs to be excitement in that running back room because they did not have a 100-yard rusher last year. Folks, it is really, really hard to win a football game when you can't run the ball. When your quarterback is running for his life every other play because they know they can pin their ears back and blitz you off the edge, not have to worry about anything you're doing underneath, it's hard to win football games that way. But to get back to the point of this, the internal feeling is we feel good about us. We feel good about what we have in-house. We're not going to talk about it. We're ready to roll. The pulse of the fan base is a little bit unique. There is two sides to the Penn State fan base. And we only mention this because we think it's probably a larger percentage of the population than average. Because you always have the fans that are just morbidly pessimistic or just want to make noise on message boards. You have that in every fan base. The thought in State College is, hey, that percentage that's more pessimistic is probably labeling themselves more so as realistic heading into 2022. And that group is basically saying, we're out on James Franklin. That's their feeling. Hey, we're out on James Franklin, and, until we win the Big Ten championship again, we're going to be out. Sorry. We've seen what we need to see. 500 over the last 2 years, not good enough for us. We're excited about the future, but honestly, play them this year. Play all the freshmen this year, and we'll go from there. So that's one side. Now, the other side of this fan base is saying, we're in for the ride. We are in for the ride. James Franklin, you're our guy. We'll roll with you till the wheels fall off. Sean Clifford, we'll roll with you one more time till your wheels fall off, and we'll go as you go. Come what may, we're ready to roll. We got 6 guys coming back on offense, 6 guys coming back on defense. That's a pretty decent returning production level. I mean, we're ready to roll. And I would side much more with my diagnosis with that second group. And I don't mean to paint an overly pessimistic version of what a percentage of this fan base is feeling like, but there is a sector that's feeling like, hey, we're Penn State. For us to go 500 the last 2 years, that's not okay with us. And that's not okay with us, which is what hurts. Now, my diagnosis for Penn State, like I said, falls more in line with it's okay to be hopeful. With a guy like Sean Clifford, who has shown he's no Joe Schmo playing quarterback back there. He hasn't had his best 2 years the last 2 years, but some of that's due with injury, some of that's with COVID. Like, he hasn't had a perfect set of circumstances to roll with here, okay, to be fair. He's shown he can play. Came out of high school very highly recruited, very highly touted. Dude can play. He just needs somebody else to run the football behind him. He needs a little bit more resources around him, if you will, which is funny to say because that's kind of the same tune that James Franklin's singing on a much broader scale. Hey, administration, I need more. I need more resources. I need something to help us with recruiting. I need more NIL support. I need more facility support. I need something else that I can do here because you're sort of tying my hands. Now, James Franklin's not being as vocal as I'm being, but we're reading between the lines here, and James Franklin is saying, I need more to do more. If you want us to compete against Ohio State, you want us to compete against Michigan, well, then help me help you. Because I can coach football if I'm James Franklin. I know how to drop the X's and the O's. That's not the issue. The issue is, can we get the kids here that need to be here for us to get that done? So that's Penn State for you. Internally, optimistic, they're done talking about it. The fan base, a little bit fractured. You have some that are just ready to play the freshmen this year and say, hey, we're worried about 2023. And you have a portion of this fan base that's saying, hey, we're in for the ride. I think that's probably the better way to go if you're a Penn State faithful. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.